One SUV on this avoid list has a repair bill so common that independent mechanics have started calling it the Tuesday job because they see it that often. And it's not the one you're expecting. It's a brand that just 5 years ago, people were calling the smartest buy in the segment. That reputation is costing owners real money right now, and we'll get to it. But here's the thing, and this is what this video is actually about. I didn't just research the 10 SUVs on this list. I read what hundreds of owners reported after 2, 3, 4 years of living with these vehicles. Not the press reviews, not the dealer talking points. What happened after the test drive ended and the payments started. So 10 SUVs, 5 that are quietly ruining people's finances, and 5 that owners say they'd buy again tomorrow. And the one that surprised me most is at the end. We'll start with the 5 to avoid, and we're counting down, so the worst one is last. Then the 5 to buy. Same format. Best one at the very end. And after the final pick, I've got a buying strategy that works on any SUV on the buy list. One number to check that most people skip, and it can save you anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 on the purchase price alone. Stay until the end for that. Number 5, the Nissan Rogue. The 2014 to 2020 Nissan Rogue, and specifically the Jatco CVT transmission. This is the SUV that single-handedly damaged Nissan's reputation with used car buyers, and honestly, they earned it. An owner in Georgia bought a 2017 Rogue SV through CarMax for about $15,000, 62,000 miles, clean Carfax, looked perfect on paper. 18 months later, the CVT started shuddering between 30 and 45 miles per hour. The Nissan dealership quoted him $4,800 for a transmission replacement. His independent shop, a transmission specialist he found through a Reddit thread, told him the same thing, but for $3,200. Either way, that's a repair that costs more than the car was worth at that point. And he's not alone. Owners on the Nissan Rogue forums report CVT failures between 60 and 90,000 miles so consistently that it's basically a countdown. His insurance through GEICO in Georgia ran him $192 a month for full coverage, which is reasonable until you factor in that the car itself was bleeding value every month it sat in his driveway waiting for a new transmission. The Rogue is cheap to buy. It is not cheap to own. And that's a difference a lot of first-time SUV buyers don't discover until the shuddering starts. But the Rogue is the obvious one. The next 4 get progressively worse. And number 1 is a car most people would never expect to see on an avoid list. Number 4, the Chevrolet Traverse. The 2018 and newer models specifically with the 9-speed automatic transmission. On paper, the Traverse makes a lot of sense. 3 rows, decent space, GM pricing, and you can find a 3-year-old one on AutoTrader for around $22,000 to $28,000. The problem is what happens at 40,000 miles. Owners on the GM forums and the Traverse owner communities report a transmission shudder that starts subtly, a slight vibration at low speeds, and gets progressively worse. GM issued a technical service bulletin for the torque converter, and some dealers replaced it under warranty. But if you're buying used and that warranty has expired, the torque converter replacement runs between $1,800 and $2,600 at the dealer and about $1,200 to $1,600 at an independent shop. An owner in Texas traded his Traverse in at CarMax after 27 months of ownership. He'd bought it for $26,000, put 31,000 miles on it, and CarMax offered him $14,500. He took it. $12,000 gone in just over 2 years, and that's before the $900 he spent on the torque converter shudder fix at his independent mechanic. His full coverage through State Farm in Texas was $220 a month, and he says the insurance was the only part that didn't surprise him. If you felt that shudder in a Traverse, you know exactly what I'm describing. You felt it in your chest before you felt it in your wallet. Number 3, the Volkswagen Atlas. This is the SUV Volkswagen built specifically for American families, and it shows in the wrong ways. The Atlas launched in 2018, and the depreciation curve on these is one of the steepest in the midsize SUV segment. A 2021 Atlas SE with technology, which stickered at about $42,000, is selling on Carvana right now for about $19,000 to $22,000. That's almost half its value gone in 4 years. But the depreciation isn't the real problem. The real problem is the 8-speed automatic transmission. Owners report hesitation between second and third gear, rough downshifts under braking, and a general lack of confidence that the car knows which gear it wants to be in. The 2.0-liter 4-cylinder, which VW put in a 5,000-pound SUV, struggles on highway on-ramps and mountain grades. And the VW dealer labor rate in most markets runs between $170 and $210 an hour, which means even routine maintenance feels expensive for what is essentially a family hauler. An owner in Colorado posted on the Volkswagen forums that his 3-year cost of ownership, including the purchase price of $24,000 from a private seller, insurance through Progressive at $238 a month, and every service visit came to just over $41,000. His neighbor bought a Honda Pilot for roughly the same money used and spent about $32,000 total in the same period. That $9,000 difference is the Atlas tax, and most buyers don't see it until year 3. If you own an Atlas, drop your year and your honest one-word review. I have a feeling the comments on this one are going to be divided. Number 2, the Jeep Grand Cherokee. And I need to be specific here. I'm talking about the WK2 generation, 2014 to 2021, and particularly the ones with the 3.6-liter Pentastar V6 and the 8-speed ZF transmission. The Grand Cherokee is one of the best-selling SUVs in American history, and the WK2 is genuinely good-looking, comfortable, and capable. But the ownership forums, Jeep Garage, the Grand Cherokee communities, and the Jeep forums tell a different story after 70,000 miles. The ZF 8-speed transmission in the Grand Cherokee has a known issue with rough shifting and hesitation, especially in cold weather. Owners in northern states, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, report that the transmission needs a full fluid change and software update that the Jeep dealer charges between $400 and $600 for, and that it's a recurring expense, not a one-time fix. The electronic shifter, the one that's a dial on the dashboard, has been the subject of recalls, and the HVAC blend door actuator failure is so common that a Jeep mechanic on YouTube called it the sound every Grand Cherokee eventually makes. An owner in Michigan bought a 2019 Grand Cherokee Limited through a Jeep dealership's certified pre-owned program for $31,000 at 42,000 miles. His first 18 months, blend door actuator replacement at the dealer for $480, transmission fluid service for $550, and a rear differential service for $320. Full coverage through Progressive in Michigan, $268 a month. He says the car itself is beautiful, but the cost of keeping it running properly is higher than he expected from a $30,000 SUV. And that brings us to number 1 on the avoid list. And honestly, this one changed my opinion on a brand I used to trust completely. And remember, the car everyone assumes is reliable, the one I teased at the top of this video, it's next. And the data behind it surprised me more than anything else in this research. Number 1, the Kia Sorento Hybrid. And before the comments section catches fire, let me explain. Kia has had an incredible run. The Telluride changed how people think about the brand. The new designs are genuinely striking, and the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty is one of the best marketing tools in the automotive industry. But the Sorento Hybrid, and specifically the plug-in hybrid, has a problem that the warranty doesn't always cover cleanly. The 6-speed dual-clutch transmission in the Sorento Hybrid and PHEV has a documented judder and hesitation issue at low speeds. Owners on the Kia forums in the Sorento community report it starting as early as 15,000 miles. Some dealers replace the clutch assembly under warranty. Others tell owners it's normal behavior for a DCT, and if you're buying one used outside the original warranty transfer window, that clutch assembly replacement runs between $2,200 and $3,500. An owner in Virginia bought a 2022 Sorento Fichev through a Kia dealership for about $39,000, the SX Prestige trim. By 28,000 miles, the judder was constant in parking lots and stop-and-go traffic. The dealer replaced the clutch pack under warranty, but the owner says the problem came back within 6 months. His insurance through State Farm in Virginia runs $242 a month, and he says the total cost of ownership, when you factor in the charging equipment, the higher purchase price over the gas version, and the uncertainty about the transmission's long-term durability, made the math on the hybrid pencil out to basically zero savings over the standard Sorento with the 2.5-liter turbo. That's the plot twist. The car that was supposed to save you money at the pump might cost you more at the shop. And honestly, that number, 0 savings, is the one that surprised me most. Yeah, that one stings, especially if you bought one because you did the math on gas savings. So that's the avoid list. 5 SUVs where the purchase price is the easy part and the ownership is where the money disappears. Now, 5 SUVs where owners consistently say the opposite. 5 where the longer you own it, the better the deal gets. Number 5, the Mazda CX-5. The 2017 and newer models, second generation. The CX-5 doesn't get the attention it deserves, and honestly, that's part of why it's such a good used buy. While everyone's shopping for RAV4s and CRVs and driving the prices up, the CX-5 sits there at $15,000 to $24,000 on AutoTrader with lower mileage and better driving dynamics than either of them. Owners on the Mazda forums and the CX-5 community report annual maintenance costs between $400 and $800 at independent shops. Oil changes with Mobil 1 synthetic at an independent shop run about $55 to $65. The Skyactiv 2.5-liter engine is naturally aspirated, uses a timing chain instead of a belt, and doesn't have the turbo complexity of the competition. An owner in Oregon bought a 2019 CX-5 touring through a private seller for $19,000, 53,000 miles, clean Carfax. After 2 years and 31,000 additional miles, his total maintenance spend was $1,140. Insurance through GEICO in Oregon, $168 a month for full coverage. And here's the number. Kelley Blue Book values his CX-5 at $17,000 today. He lost $2,000 in 2 years of daily driving. That's $1,000 a year in depreciation on a car that drives better than most things twice its price. And the next 4 hold value even better than that. Number 4, the Kia Telluride. And yes, Kia is on both lists, which is exactly the point. The Telluride is the opposite of the Sorento hybrid story. It uses a conventional 8-speed automatic, not a dual clutch, paired with a naturally aspirated 3.8-liter V6 that has no turbo, no hybrid system, and no known widespread reliability issues. Owners on the Telluride forums report reaching 100,000 miles with nothing but routine maintenance. The catch is that the Telluride holds value so well that used prices are still aggressive. A 2022 EX with 40,000 miles on CarMax runs about $33,000 to $36,000. But the ownership costs after purchase are remarkably low. An owner in North Carolina tracked everything for 18 months. Oil changes at his independent shop for $62 each, brake pads from Rock Auto for $140 for all 4 corners, he did them himself, and full coverage through Progressive in North Carolina at $218 a month. Total maintenance for 18 months, $830, on a 3-row SUV that seats 8 people comfortably. You know somebody shopping for a 3-row SUV right now. Send them this before they sign anything. Number 3, the Honda Pilot, the 2016 to 2022 third generation, the one with the 3.5-liter V6 and the 9-speed automatic. The Pilot gets dismissed as boring, and it is boring. That's the entire selling point. It starts every morning, it takes the kids to school, it drives to the lake on weekends, and it doesn't surprise you with a repair bill in between. Owners on the Pilot forums in the Honda Pilot community report annual maintenance costs between $500 and $900, and the Honda dealership labor rate, which is already lower than BMW, Mercedes, and Audi, averages about $135 an hour nationally. Parts availability is excellent, and the aftermarket is deep. An owner in Ohio bought a 2019 Pilot EXL through AutoTrader for $27,000, 61,000 miles. After 3 years, his total spend on maintenance, not including gas and insurance, was $2,100. That's $700 a year. His insurance through State Farm in Ohio runs $184 a month for full coverage. And his wife's Honda CR-V, which they bought the same year, costs almost exactly the same to insure, which means Honda isn't penalizing you for moving up to the bigger vehicle. The Pilot isn't exciting, but the owners who keep them for 6, 7, 8 years, they're the ones smiling. Quietly, Pilot or Telluride, if you had to pick one for the next 5 years. Just the name. Comments. I want to see where this lands. Number 2, the Lexus RX. The 2016 and newer 4th generation, the RX 350 specifically. There's a reason the Lexus RX has been the best-selling luxury SUV in America for over 2 decades, and it's not because it's thrilling to drive, it's because it almost never breaks. Owners on Club Lexus and the Lexus forums report ownership experiences that read like fiction compared to the European competition. 150,000 miles with nothing but oil changes, brakes, and tires. No timing chain stretch. No turbo failure. No transmission shudder. Just miles. An owner in Florida bought a 2018 RX 350 through Lexus certified pre-owned for $32,000, 44,000 miles. His annual maintenance at the Lexus dealer, where he chooses to go because the service is part of the experience, runs about $750. Oil changes with Toyota spec 0W20 at the dealer are about $85. Full coverage through GEICO in Florida, $226 a month. And here's what gets people. Kelley Blue Book values his 2018 RX 350 at about $27,000 today. He's lost $5,000 in 4 years on a luxury SUV. That's less depreciation per year than a new Honda Civic. The RX is what happens when Toyota's engineering meets Lexus's patience. Nobody rushes, nobody cuts corners, and the owner pays for it once, at the purchase price, instead of paying for it every month at the service bay. And the number one, the SUV I'd put my own money on if I had to pick one from this entire list, is next. Number 1, the Toyota 4Runner, the 5th generation, 2010 to 2024. And the reason it's number 1 isn't just reliability, it's the math. The 4Runner uses a 4.0-liter V6, the 1GR FE, that Toyota has been building variations of since 2002. It's paired with a 5-speed automatic that is, by modern standards, ancient. No 8-speed, no CVT, no dual clutch, 5 gears, and a torque converter, the way transmissions worked before transmissions got complicated. And that simplicity is the entire point. Owners on the 4Runner forums report 200, 250, 300,000 miles on original powertrains, not rebuilt, original. An owner in Colorado bought a 2016 4Runner SR5 through a private seller for $28,000 at 72,000 miles. 3 years later, 114,000 miles on the clock, and his total maintenance spend, tracked in a spreadsheet he posted on the forum, was $2,412. Oil changes with Mobil 1 at his independent shop were $62 each, every 5,000 miles. Brakes from O'Reilly Auto Parts that he installed himself, $190 for the fronts. One set of Falcon Wild Peak tires at $860 for the set. His insurance through Progressive in Colorado runs $212 a month for full coverage. And here's the number that makes the 4Runner the number 1 pick. He checked Kelley Blue Book last month, and his 2016 4Runner with 114,000 miles is valued at $26,000. He bought it for $28,000. He lost $2,000 in 3 years. On a vehicle, he drove 42,000 miles. The purchase price is the deposit. On a 4Runner, there is no mortgage. And the buying strategy I promised, this works on any SUV on the buy list, but it works best on the 4Runner and the Lexus RX. Check the service records for the 60,000-mile service. On Toyotas and Lexus vehicles, the 60,000-mile service includes a transmission fluid change, a brake fluid flush, coolant inspection, and a full multi-point check. If the previous owner skipped that service, you have a negotiation tool. You're looking at $800 to $1,200 of deferred maintenance that you can use to bring the purchase price down by $2,000 to $5,000 because the seller knows it needs doing. And you're the buyer who noticed. Search for one with the 60,000-mile service completed or use the one that skipped it as your bargaining chip. Either way, that one line on the Carfax or the service records is worth thousands. Which number would you buy from either list? Drop it in the comments with one sentence explaining why. I want to see if we agree on number 1. Is there an SUV I completely missed that should be on the buy list or the avoid list? Drop it below. If enough of you say the same car, that's the next video, and I'll credit the comment that started it. And check my pinned comment. I left the exact model years, mileage sweet spots, and one red flag to check per car on both lists. Plus the specific Auto Trader search filters I'd use if I were buying any of these tomorrow. And here's the debate. The Lexus RX versus the Toyota 4Runner. One is smoother, one is tougher. One depreciates like a luxury car should. The other one doesn't depreciate at all. Which one is actually the smarter buy over 5 years? I know where I land, but I want to see if the comments agree with me. Next week, I'm breaking down the 5 luxury SUVs that lost the most value in 2026, and one of them started at over $90,000 and is selling right now for less than a loaded Honda Pilot. That video is going to change how you think about used luxury SUVs. That's the next one.